don't even need editing,
Yeah, no, when the
We
light
don't
is
even
right,
need anything. Yeah,
there's
it looks
very
so
minimal
great.
editing. Yeah, you guys set it up. I was impressed. The process was there.
The process is there.
Hi guys and girls, I am so elated that you've taken the moment this festive period just to come watch me speak about the creative process, especially the creative process on a budget. 2-3 weeks ago, I and my friends decided to create one look. We ended up creating two, but we decided to create one look on a budget. Sabrina reached out to me letting me know that she had a particular look in mind and she qualified it with moody, dramatic, a lot of shadows, some contrast, something that had to do with, emotions like forlorn, detached, and all of that. So here is a couple of things that we understood. Even though we were already speaking and communicating about the look, we knew we had to keep it simple. So we had to keep everything on a budget. And that's what I want to share with you. How do we approach creating on a budget? What do we look out for? The first thing we always look out for is at least deciding what it is we want to create. Knowing for a fact when, where, and how we want to go about the shoots. So in terms of those when, where, and how questions, we had to pick a location and we needed to make sure that we were not paying for the location. We also had to pick a time, which means the location we're picking has to be able to accommodate us for the duration of time in which we were going to shoot. So those are things we discussed and planned upon in the planning and ideation phase. We also decided what's the overall lighting going to be in terms of the look in general, which we already agreed upon, but how do we want to light it to make everything work seamlessly. We also had to discuss, okay, who's going to be our subject for the day? Do we, the photographers, have to be the subject, or we're going to have a professional model? Fortunately, Sabrina already had someone in mind, so 2 thumbs up to Sabrina. But there is another part of the entire process that is very important and very crucial when you're making things on a budget. Knowing for a fact that every one of us are independent creators, we always bring something to the table. But in this situation, it's a collaborative effort which includes myself, Emmanuel, and Sabrina. So there is more that we're going to be looking for in order to make this process seamless. Say for example, of course we already had a model, but we don't have a makeup artist. So someone had to take on the responsibility. Luckily for us again, Sabrina is in the house, 3 points. And now Emmanuel takes all of the rest of the point because he was just there assisting with every single thing. Even when it came to directing, he took on the role to direct. Okay, so if you saw a garment that was loose, Emmanuel was there just jumping at it and taking care of it. Those are roles that if you're creating on a budget, you can find friends to fill, because in a professional setting, there's always someone doing that other than the photographer, because as a photographer or a creator, you don't want to keep jumping back and forth between your lights, your model's garments, your model's pose, or any other thing that involves the setup. So Emmanuel got us full time. It's like it was back and forth. What do you need? Do you need your paints? Do you need your brushes? Do you need your lashes? Do you need your, I don't know, you name it, Emmanuel was there. My own role was making sure that every single gear was functioning and every item was properly set up. So in terms of the lighting process, I was responsible for that, as that's something I enjoy doing. I'm a gear nerd, but I'm not obsessed with gear, so I don't really want to speak too much about it. But just know that everything that had something to do with the technical aspects, I was mostly involved in all of that. So those are the ways that we assigned roles for each other. It wasn't through delegating, it was just knowing consciously that we needed to be proactive in order to achieve the kind of looks that we wanted. That said, the last thing I want to discuss with you, and I'm not going to put too much emphasis on it because I don't want to get your mind all wrapped up in what gear is needed for what. It doesn't matter what you're shooting on right now. The gear you have at hand is always the gear you need to create the looks that you make. So here is the trick. A lot of us shoot on the Sony system and we also use the Godox system. So we all brought that together. We all brought our Godox system lighting materials to the table and we used the setup. Another thing we also did was we opted to use background that we already had instead of the background that was in the studio. The negative feel were already available in the studio, so we implemented that in our work process. When it came to the crown, I don't know if I said this earlier in the video, Sabrina brought some materials for props. Some of the other materials we had to purchase. We used both the dollar store and the craft store. We spent a lot at the dollar store, as in most of the items we got were from the dollar store, so we didn't really have to pay so much money to get the items. The rest of it was gotten at the craft store, but we had gotten that prior to the time when we were planning this shoot. Anyway, that said, I hope you've been able to pick up one or two things on shooting on a budget. The most important thing I want to let you know is the only limitation you have when you're shooting on a budget is the limitation of your mind, not the limitation of your resource. Every little thing you have in your arsenal can be used to create a look that you want. Sometimes you won't get the looks that some high-end professionals would get, but if you're doing this, do it with what it is you have right now. Say for example, if you have colleagues who have a certain gear, feel free to ask them to come in and shoot. It might be a slight inconvenience for you. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes it might just work in your favor. In our case, when we're making this on a budget, it worked in everyone's favor.
So happy. Yes. So good. Oh my god.
We don't even need editing, you know.
Yeah, no, when the
We
light
don't
is
even
right.
need anything.
you know,
Yeah, it
there's
looks
very
so
minimal
good.
editing. Yeah, you guys
Crafting.
set it up. I was impressed. The process was there.
The process was there. Darn it, that would have been so good. We gotta do it again.
1 second,
guys.
I'm gonna check to see if I'm getting what it is. One second. Da-da-da. Alright.
Yeah, we didn't get the video of it. I got the painting.
So sad.
Well, oh no, you know what? No. Okay, let's go.
It's something about the season that we
Alright. You were doing an awesome job, by the way. Incredible.
We need to take a BTS of the BTS just
Yeah.
to see you holding the sandwich while holding the camera.
What are you doing?
Videoing you.
Videoing you. You know the makeup artist, like, for real?
For now.
For real?
For real.
Look at this lady just rocking it. What's Sabrina doing on the floor?
Making art.
Emmanuel is like so into it. He's like, you know what? I just gotta put some more of that.
Go all in.
Looking good. I want to do some without the camera.
Oh wait, just 1 second. You know,
Oh, you have an idea?
I had something only if you like it. Only if you like it. So I was thinking something,
Oh yeah. Okay.
but only if you want it.
No, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
You're okay with just like becoming the wall.
What is happening?
So
Somebody
here
wants me to
he's
do?
The hand, yeah.
he's like just putting the crown on you, if that makes sense.
Oh, this is good. Yeah, I like it.
We good?
Yep. We good?
It feels Slay Ride. I feel like Slay Ride. I feel Slay Ride vibes.
More of like a breaking free of like the
I felt that, but like when I could hear the beats in my ear, I felt like I was standing as like reindeer.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's
Move
to the
on.
next thing.
I think we
We're
did.
good.
I just want to take a couple of shots, but
Yeah,
I
go for
will
it.
do away with the crown. I just have one thing in mind. It's this veil she was talking about, and I can see how that comes into play.
Oh yeah.
So I want to veil you, but I want to veil you in a way that seems almost like a hijab, but with a hijab that kind of flows out, right? So,
Do you want to keep the pearls on or take it off? I feel like
take them off for now.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's start with the minimum and then we'll build up from there. Right hand, just slightly over this way, and hold that scalpel for me so I can see this. Something like that.
Like this?
Yeah. So I can see your face. Yeah. That's what I want. All right. Second.
Okay. Probably. Oh no, you know what? Okay, let's go.
It's something about the season that we
Alright. You are doing an awesome job, by the way. Incredibly.
Outside.
that we're not supposed
You know what? Can you turn your face more in this direction? Good. And tilt your jaw up, because you really have like prominent jaw. I want to show it. Yeah, more. Yeah. Can we move over to this side and see how the light works differently?
Okay.
Yeah. That works. So we're going to turn facing this light. Uh-huh.
Right here.
Yeah, perfect. But I'm just gonna move myself over to the side.
Okay.
Yeah, and have your hand be soft while it's doing that, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Good.